Hey, it's Susanna. Welcome back to part two of this series on scaling your online yoga business to 10K months. So, if you haven't watched the first episode yet in this series, I recommend you do and go back to that and then come back here. In the last episode, we talked about the first two shifts that have to happen. So, brand positioning and your offer suite, and getting clear on who you serve and building offers that actually work together instead of being a collection of random things. But moving on, here's what I see happen way too often. A yoga teacher gets really clear on their positioning, they build a solid offer, they know what they're selling and who it's for, and then nothing happens. Or at least not much happens. Maybe a few people buy here and there, but it's not consistent, it's not predictable, and it definitely doesn't feel like the business is actually working. And the reason is usually one of two things. Either their messaging isn't actually selling, or they don't have a sales process that runs in the background. And in this episode, we're diving into those two shifts. So your messaging and your sales process. Because you can have the best positioning and the most beautiful offer in the world, but if people don't understand why they should buy, or if there's no clear path for them to take that next step, you're going to stay stuck. So let's start with messaging. When you're making $2,000 or $3,000 a month, you might be relying heavily on word of mouth, on the people who already know you and trust you, like with their first online course launch or online membership. Most yoga teachers sell it to their existing students, which is, of course, totally fine and it's what you should do. But those are people who've already been in your classes, who already know you, and what it's like to work with you. They already trust you. And that can work, for a while for your first launch, but it also has a ceiling, obviously, because at some point you've sold to those people in your immediate circle. And if you try to sell to them again and again, your numbers are going to be smaller and smaller and smaller, you know. And if you want to grow beyond that circle, you need to be able to attract and convert people who don't already know you. That's where messaging comes in. To get to $10,000 months, your messaging needs to sell better. And I don't mean that in a pushy or manipulative way, but in a way that naturally leads people to want to work with you. And I think this is where the disconnect happens for a lot of yoga teachers. We've been told that if we just show up and share value, people will eventually buy. But that's not how it actually works. Messaging that sells speaks directly to a problem someone is experiencing and shows them that you understand it. And it invites people to take a next step instead of just consuming your content and moving on. This doesn't mean every piece of content has to be a sales pitch. It just means that your content needs to connect to your offers in a clear and consistent way. So let me give you an example from my own business. When I write an email or create a piece of content about building your first small digital offer, your low ticket offer, I'm not just giving general advice. I'm speaking directly to a teacher who's been thinking about creating something but doesn't know where to start. I'm naming the confusion they're feeling. I'm showing them what's possible. And then I'm letting them know that if they want step by step support with this, I have something that can help. And that's it. I'm not manipulating anyone here. I'm not creating false urgency. I'm just being clear about what I help with and how they can work with me if they are ready. So I have so many yoga teachers tell me, I post on Instagram every day. I share valuable content, but no one ever asks about my programs. And when I look at their content, it's lovely, it's inspiring, maybe even, but when do they mention their offers? And if they do, they're talking about features. Join my 6-week program. I have a new course available. Book a one-on-one session with me. But people don't buy 6-week programs or online courses or one-on-one sessions. They buy transformation. They buy certainty that by working with you, they get the result they want. So your messaging needs to focus on the outcome, not the container. What changes for someone when they work with you? What becomes possible that wasn't possible before? Or what does their life actually look like on the other side? When I talk about the Blissful Biz Academy, my signature program, I'm not just saying it's a 12-week group program with weekly calls. I'm talking about what it means to finally have a business that supports the life you actually want to live, to stop feeling invisible in a crowded market, and like to have a system that sells your offers every day. That's what people are buying. The certainty that this transformation is possible for them and that you are the right person to guide them there. And the way you create that certainty is by consistently speaking to the problem they're experiencing, showing them what's possible, sharing stories and examples that prove it works, and making it clear that you understand exactly what they're going through and how to help them get to the other side. And that's very, very different from just mentioning your offer more often or just posting more often or just posting on more platforms. You don't need to do that. You just need to get more clear in your messaging. And the fourth shift, to get to 10K months is about your sales process. And this is the piece that creates consistency. When you're making just $2,000 a month, you can wait for people to come to you. You probably are doing that, right? So you can post on Instagram, send occasional emails, and hope that someone reaches out when they are ready. And sometimes that works. Someone will message you, you'll have a conversation, and they sign up. But to get to consistent 10K months, you need an actual system that consistently enrolls clients without depending on hope or perfect timing. And I want to be really clear about what I mean by a sales process, because I think a lot of yoga teachers have seen examples of this that feel really off. When I first started learning about evergreen funnels, that's what everybody was teaching. Use expensive tools like Deadline Funnel or Webinar Jam. Set up fake countdown timers. Use tricks like not letting people forward a video or making them wait before the buy button shows up. Create individual deadlines for every subscriber so they think they're getting a special limited time offer when really it's just automated. And by all, we all know it's automated, and none of that ever felt right to me. Like there are tools like Deadline Funnel, and I gave it a try. I tried it out, and it's pretty great. The technology, it gives everybody who signs up for my free training their individual deadlines. So I can say something like, this special discount goes away after 5 days, after 5 more days. And after 5 more days, if for them it actually goes away, they're going to get redirected to a different sales page that shows the higher price. But it's still icky because we all know it's a pre-recorded training. For me, it simply doesn't feel aligned. It doesn't feel good. So I decided to create my own evergreen system that doesn't use any of that. Something simple that feels good and yes, actually works. So instead of using expensive funnel software for my evergreen free training, I simply host the video on Vimeo. You could also use YouTube for free. That's where I started too. And I embedded at the top of my sales page. So I duplicated the sales page. I call it Masterclass Replay or something. And at the top is the video And below that is actually all the information about the program that I'm also talking about in the masterclass at the end. So when someone signs up for my free training on my website, they get added to a strategic email sequence where I share the link to this page so they can watch the training. And in those emails, I share value, I share stories, I share case studies and testimonials. And yes, I also invite them to join my program. But I don't use timers, I don't use fake timers, and I don't lie. I don't say things like, you have only 5 days to get this discount if that's not true, if it doesn't actually go away. I never say this is a live training because it's not, because it's pre-recorded, right? So I believe honesty and transparency are what really builds trust in the long term. And now I still use marketing psychology because it's not enough to just put your online course on your website and hope that someone will buy it. It just doesn't happen. You might have tried it. I mean, you can buy my courses on my website, but it just doesn't happen. People procrastinate. It's human nature. We all do. We think, oh, this looks interesting. I check it later. I come back to it later. And then we never do. Or we think I do this when I have more time, and that time never comes. So your job is to help your potential clients take action and to stop procrastinating. And you do that not by lying to them or creating fake urgency, but by reminding them what's at stake here, what it would cost them not to do this, by inspiring them with case studies and examples of what's possible, by giving them certainty that you are the right person to help them get to the results they want, by adding a guarantee, for example. That's what my email sequences do. They build a case over time. They address objections, they share stories, they remind people why this matters, and they make it easy to say yes when someone is ready. So let me walk you through what this looks like. Someone finds me through my content, maybe a blog post or a podcast episode on Instagram. They're invited to sign up for free training that addresses a specific problem they're dealing with. And when they sign up, they immediately get access to the training. It's right there on the page. There's no tricks, no waiting. They don't have to select a date and time for an evergreen training. And then over the next week or so, they receive those emails, right? The email sequence. And at the end of that sequence, if they haven't bought, they move into my regular email list where I continue to show up, share values, and make offers where it's relevant. And that's it. There are no fake timers, there's no pressure and no manipulation, just a clear, consistent path that makes it easy for someone to work with me when they're ready. I also have sequences that when they bought something, invite them to the next step. And invite them to my signature program, to my mastermind, to my membership. It's all set up and automated and running in the background in my business. Most yoga teachers, they don't have anything like this. They might have a free download on their website, but there's no follow-up sequence, or they have an email list, but they only email when they feel like it or when they're launching something. And here's what happens when you don't have a system. You end up doing all the selling manually. You're constantly thinking about what to post, what to say, how to get people to buy. You're relying on individual conversations or perfect timing. And that's exhausting. It's also not scalable. When you have a system, people are moving through your process all the time. Some will buy right away, some will buy your small offer, some of those people will move into your bigger program, and you're not doing anything except showing up consistently with your content and letting the system do its work. That's what creates predictable income, because when you know your numbers, you know what's going to happen in the next month. That's what allows you to stop worrying about whether this month is going to be okay financially and start thinking about how to grow and expand. So those are the two shifts we cover today, your messaging and your sales process. You don't need expensive software. You don't need complicated funnels. You don't need to do anything that feels manipulative or off. You just need clarity about what you're offering and a simple system that guides people from discovering your work to actually working with you. All right, so that's what I wanted to cover today. In part 3 of this series, to get to 10K months, we are going to talk about the final shift, which is leadership. Because all the strategy in the world won't matter if you're not showing up as the leader your audience is waiting for, that they deserve actually. And that's often the hardest shift of all, but it's also the one that ties everything else together. So that's coming in the next episode. And if you're feeling stuck, like whatever you do, nothing really moves the needle, applications are open for the Blissful Biz Mastermind. This is where we work through all of those shifts together over 6 months. Your messaging, your sales process, your leadership, your offers, everything that's keeping you stuck at your current revenue level. There are only 6 spots and we start March 2nd. You can learn more and apply at susannareicher.com/mastermind. So if this is resonating with you and you want to reach out, you can always send me a message or drop a comment wherever you're listening to this. And that's it for today. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.